Namaste. I am Gloria Grace Rand, and I am delighted to welcome you to another edition of our show, the Live, Love, Engage podcast. And I am so excited about my guest today because I've met her recently, been learning about her a little bit then, but learning more about her and just really being so very intrigued. So I want to welcome Nancy Orlen Weber, RN, to Live, Love, Engage. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about her. She is, she left nursing because of a permanent disability and began a private practice as a medical intuitive, animal communicator, and psychic detective. She is featured in many documentaries worldwide with the detectives she's worked. And she likes to say that everything we need is inside. We simply uncover our sacred powers. So again, I want to welcome you. First off, Nancy, I'm going back and forth there today. I sort of welcomed you and then went right into the bio, and I almost stopped the recording and then said, I'm just going to power through. But I'm so glad that you are here today, first off. So welcome.
Thank you, Gloria. I am so delighted. I can't wait for us to converse. One time I heard you first. Lovely. Thank you.
Well, thank you. And so I thought we would start off, because as I normally do when I have a guest on the show, I like to ask them sort of how they got, what their journey is to where they are today. And I loved how you said in your bio that we simply uncover our sacred powers. So I wanted to ask you, how did you uncover your sacred power?
It's more about incremental, not knowing at first what it is, but being very curious. So I would say to people listening also that everyone who's had déjà vu, everyone who's had intuitive something and, oh my God, it's real. What is it? Are you curious? So I got very curious about how I knew things that nobody else knew, or how I knew that somebody unfortunately would be dying or dead. And how is it possible that my beloved grandmother, my hero, came to me at 1-something a.m. in the morning, and I woke up crying and saying, Becky is dead, my grandmother. And my mother said, why are you screaming? I said, she just died. Shut up and go back to bed. That was typical. And the phone rang and my grandmother had just died. And I thought, what? How is it possible? So all those things kept happening, but naming sacred powers as sacred, not just woo-woo or voodoo, or, well, voodoo is actually a great healing art. I don't practice, but I know of it. And so all the other stuff, I threw it all out and went into my beloved psychiatric nursing as my very last nursing career. I sought, ever since I started, to work in psychiatry, but I refused to work where they gave electric shock treatments and where they gave lots of drugs. I thought, no, thank you. That's not what I want. And I had the blessing of working in the highest crime rate in the country at the time in the South Bronx, known as Fort Apache then. And we made miracles in 10 days with very psychotic people. And that was because of the sacred powers, and others joined in. The psychiatrists begged me to do it. Everybody. And I started recognizing, oh, this is not, and I would go through, if anyone's watching who's ever worried about their mental health, I would examine if I can talk about what I see that nobody else sees. I'm not hallucinating then. If I can clarify it, if I can express it, if I can talk, not dysfunctionally talk, but actually functionally examine it, then what is it? And so that's how I started uncovering it. And it was, I thank all the psychotic people I worked with who were no longer psychotic and showed me the way. The psychiatrists who not only opened the door, but asked me to do the top research in the state. because I made history. And all the aides and everybody else, the orderly, we worked as a team making magic, and very, very few drugs for very dysfunctional people. And that, to me, is when I started uncovering the real power. But it took all that time from in utero. I mean, I remember my birth to actually understand that this was sacred. It wasn't just a power. It's not a blessing or a curse. It's everybody has it. It's just hidden until you bring it to the light. And I thought, oh, so that's what they're all talking about in philosophies and religion and all the rest. And that was why I could walk away from everything and said, no, I'm going to do a lot of examining what this is and practicing, and let's see.
Well, I just realized that it would probably be good for you to define what do you consider a sacred power, and are there different kinds of them?
I think we all have, we call intuition gut instinct. We know that part of it is the brain, the body, the mind, the gut, the right probiotics, the right bacteria in the gut, prebiotics and all that. But who are we? Who are we really? Go touch your soul, right? So this is my home on earth. I still have a home when I'm not on earth. So that's why I call my soul. And to me, that is sacred because it's beyond anything I could ever understand, but are very grateful for. I think everybody has that who's alive. I think the trees have it.
Right.
I think the birds have it. I think my chipmunks, who I love, have it. And we know cats and dogs have it, and horses, and right, and fish. I have talked with fish and played with them, and they have been very good to me. So everybody has something sacred deep within. And as you say, there is, like anything else, a spectrum. You're born with abilities, whatever they are. So somebody who is considered, for instance, special needs, many of them are high functioning, so much so that they're much higher than ours, who are considered so-called normal. They're much more creative, inspired, and can think out of the box without an issue.
That's
So
true.
sacred is each one, and how we use it makes it something we have gratitude for.
I love that. Now, for those of you who are listening to the podcast, you won't be able to see, but behind Nancy, she has a couple of books back there. So, because I forgot to mention also, which you actually did not put in your bio, that you are an author. You should put that in there.
Okay. I
That's
forget.
my marketing hat talking,
Thank you. I have never marketed until now, the last few months only. I've never, other than I built the website or somebody built it for me, and they would told me, what I needed, so I'd write, but I've never sought work. This is all new for me. So the books, yes, the Life of a Psychic Detective are cases, only adjudicated. That means fully finished. They're in prison for life, most of them, or they're dead. Otherwise, I never speak about it. Because when I first started, we removed the number of my house, and only the post office and police department knew where I lived because nobody wanted me threatened. I would be happy. I did internal investigations in the police department. Not funny, right? So they protected me, the ones I worked with. And I've done federal work, etc. So I'm very careful. However, what I thought when I wrote, and the inspiration to even put it out there, was people who love to give service and have that kind of ability to puzzle things through. might enjoy reading about somebody who does that, and maybe it would confirm for them. But also, I wanted some things in it, like how you find missing items, because I have a husband who loses everything he touches. And he always said, I married you because you can find everything. And I'd say, go to your room. So, I mean, it's almost daily, and I just get up and go to it. And it's not just because I know him, because the first time I ever heard this, I was able to go find something that was in like what I call a hellhole, like floor to ceiling, 40 feet of shelving, never labeled, nothing, just piles. And I went within 30 seconds and pulled out what he asked for.
Wow.
And I thought, well, a lot of people don't know how to do that. But that's because we're electromagnetic. We can make ourselves a magnet. And we can act like a laser beam, focus on that one item, whatever it is. So I put in the book a bunch of different techniques about that, and a bunch of other things I thought of that are not necessarily always daily, but it is something that anybody can use. So a lot of them in several of my Facebook groups I have, they're practicing with the exercises amongst themselves or with others. And I love that. So when I teach class, I always tell people, go exchange emails, cell phone numbers, or whatever, and go work on your own together. Go practice. If you don't practice, you can't get anywhere on anything.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. Yeah. Well, can you share one exercise so we can whet people's appetite to get the book?
Let me think. The only one I can remember off cuff, really, is about things missing. So first, people need to understand, and they go, really, we're all magnets? I don't know. Yes, you are. We have electroencephalograms, electrocardiograms, electromyograms. Everything is electric in our bodies. We are wired, just like electricity is wired. Well, it's a magnetic field also. We know that it's measurable. So let's assume that we can control it because we are not it. That's our machinery. Like you drive a car, the car's your machinery.
Right.
We drive our body. Right. So let's say you're looking for, not that everybody goes out and buys books in stores anymore, but those who do, just take it that way. And you're looking, you don't know what you want right now. Get in your mind just the genre. You love mysteries or art or travel. Pick one. Just go very slow. Don't look at anything. Don't think anything. Just think travel or mystery, whatever it is. And go, and even if they have a section, go to the section. And as you walk, I want you to do something that we all learn who are into feeling. Feeling. You will have a different sensation or feeling as you pass. Let's say you've gone 2 feet, 3 feet, 4, all of a sudden something feels different. Stop. Turn. Look. So it is the same thing in your home. I'm frantic. I can't find my keys. Where are they? Right? Okay. That frantic will never help you find a single thing. We know that.
Yeah.
I want you to consider one other wonderful thing if you're the one who lost it. You may not have it consciously in your mind, but your memory does. Your cells do have the information. If you calm down and take 3 deep breaths, that whole thing, 3 deep breaths, right? And not care. Now I'm telling you that because I learned that also with murders. If you care, you cannot do it. You'll be too emotional.
Right.
I need it. I'm frantic. I got to get out in 5 minutes. Right? So you're looking for something. And let's say you have an upstairs and downstairs. So all you have to do is ask yourself, and learn to do this daily with a very simple technique. You get mail. I know most of it's junk mail, but not always. Right? Every day, ask yourself if there's any real mail that I need that is coming today before you go look.
Mm.
So every time you're doing that, you're setting up a program of focus, strong focus. So now you go, is it upstairs or downstairs? I can't tell. Well, then you're too frantic. Upstairs, yes or no? Yes. Downstairs. No, no. Okay, I'll go upstairs. The room with the blue carpet. Nothing. So the same thing as walking in a store. Also, you can simply walk slowly
Mm.
and feel the pull, because a magnet will feel a pull.
That's
Anyone
right.
who's ever done Reiki, anyone who's done Jinshin Jitsu, anyone who's ever done any healing, I had never learned any of the systems. I made my own because I could feel the magnetic energy coming out of my hands when I pray is different from when I send healing. And I realized, oh, something's really happening. So we can all do that. We can practice. Don't wait until you're frantic. So when I started teaching class, for instance, back in 1975, I charged $10 for class. And I refuse to charge a lot more now. I haven't changed most of my fees in 15 years. I refuse. And these are hard times for a lot of people. It's crazy. So I would tell them, don't pay me when I'm in the bathroom or moving, just put the money somewhere, hide it. I'll find it eventually. So I would practice that way. So if you have kids, have them hide stuff, your stuff, because you will feel it stronger. So that's one of the things that you learn. The details matter. The sensitivity to the change in your feeling matters. You touch somebody, right? You touch somebody and you focus on loving them. It's a different consequence to their oxygen level. It's proven.
Mm.
Right. To the blood flow, everything improves. The studies are done. They were done 40 years ago. Right? So yes, it is conscious awareness of the changes, let's say, that matters.
Mm. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. You sharing all that information. And I definitely agree with you in the fact of the franticness definitely does not work, because I've experienced that when I've been frantic, and it doesn't, nothing works, frankly, when you're that stirred up. You really do have to be able to take a
Sure.
breath, calm down. And I was just thinking, I think I did something this morning. Oh, I know. I was just not letting something get to me. I had something spill in my bathroom underneath the sink all over the floor. And I just cleaned it up. Where in the past I could really let that, upset me, but it's like, I got too many other things going on today.
Exactly. We do learn, right? Before GPS, I could get lost anywhere.
Mm.
So I wasn't always easy with getting lost when I performed weddings, thousands. And if they had a detour or something, I was frantic. And I thought, how stupid. My adrenal glands are going to pay a price. My mind is frozen. Well, that's not good. That's my nervous system. I would talk myself out of it as best as I could, but sometimes it's hard. And when you work with people who are right in the middle of trauma, I don't ever expect them to. I get out things like I use certain essential oils to calm them right down, no matter what the trauma, in order for me to get into a space where I'm not absorbing their emotions.
Mm.
In my other book, All Nature Speaks, I deal with missing dogs and a missing pony and missing cats and other wonderful communication stories. But the missing, I knew from working with everything else that the people who were missing them, they were frantic. They couldn't stop.
Yeah.
Right. And so I may appear to be very cold and very kind of ice queen when I work, because I can't go into their field of energy.
Yeah.
I have to be able to just do the work, focus, and not care whether they're crying hysterically over a terrible loss, as some couples have gone through and that I've counseled and et cetera. So it's the same thing. I'm speaking to teach certain things about frequency to a group helping parents heal. They are parents nationwide and I think worldwide now that have lost their children through anything. They're a spiritual group. And I know that I could either get very involved emotionally or I can help them. That's a choice.
Yeah.
And
I
so
think
you did that for you,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So you chose to be nice to yourself.
Absolutely. Well, and because I have learned that lesson also the hard way, even with dealing with, I've had clients in the past who I started feeling physically ill just from listening to them because they were just rejecting everything I said, number one, and they just knew better and just refused to allow me to be able to, offer any suggestion, or anytime I did, it was like, no, I tried that. No, and it was like, I finally had to just let this client go because it's like, okay. And now, I've learned since then to be able to protect myself better, but it is something you need to learn. So actually, I'm going to ask you, so how did you have to like really consciously learn how to be able to protect yourself like that when you're dealing in this work and helping families?
That's a great question. I'm trying to go back and think. There was a part of me before that was super, super sensitive to being rejected horribly. My family rejected me early on. So it really tugged at me and I'd feel guilty right away about anything. And so, but because of my own personal history later on too, I think what happened that actually ended up being a favor to me is when my first husband tried to kill me when I was pregnant. I know it sounds odd, but it brought about a radical change immediately. If I don't care for myself and my baby, nobody will. And not happening here. So I think that frequency, high frequency of shield, light shield, natural, not walls, not armor,
Right.
not not fences, but not a sponge, right? Getting between all that really is, for me, it was trial and error until I realized that before I listened to anybody, I spent a year imagining over an issue with somebody. I would re-script it in my mind and I'd notice how my emotions would come up immediately, trying to sort it out, fix it, change it, until I realized that just because somebody says something or does something does not mean you have to respond to them. You need to respond to that part of you that's uncomfortable and get comfy. And so I kept doing that until it became normal. Absolutely normal. And I didn't know it would be different until I was tested. Like today, this morning, I'm posting something on social media and somebody had responded to my book or whatever, a man, and he said something about Randy, something, the guy who posts like $1 million to prove you're psychic or something. So he makes a comment and says, he should test you. I said, you haven't read my book. And I thought, go read the book and then talk to me. Don't talk to me. You know nothing about it. So it's people who, and I understand that's part of what goes on in the world today, where people make these decisions without knowing something, without looking at it. It's when people talk about, well, if I don't believe any of it, and I go, do you mean you're closed-minded or a skeptic? Two very different things.
That's true.
Right? So when somebody comes to me and goes, well, I've done everything, I burst out laughing. And they go, what? Why you, what? And I go, okay, so you did everything. Do you know what that means? There's nothing left. But I think it's funny because you've never met me. And I may not have anything new but you just said everything, and that includes me, and I never met you before. So what are you talking about? Clarify for me. I am not easy sometimes with people like that because I want them to understand there are ways you may never have explored, just like everybody else in the world. I keep finding new paths for me. So how come you don't know that there are more solutions being created right now
That's
that we
right.
don't, right?
Yeah.
We're still looking.
I love that. Yeah. It's a good way to handle people. And it is fun. It is funny when they think, yes, I've done everything. It's like, even if they think that, but as you said, they haven't done everything with you. And
Right.
I think that's one of the things that even with, when I talk to clients and other business owners, is that you can be in the same type of business, the same industry as somebody else, but
Right.
that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to feel like you're in competition with that person, because someone is going to come and work with you. You have your own unique education, your own unique background, your own unique way of doing something. And that may really resonate with someone, whereas it might not with somebody else. So
You just said it,
yeah.
because what they don't understand is the motivation behind the words, right? Could say the same thing,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, I always talk about some of the early breaking between the intuition and being able to assert the feminine, masculine parts of the brain, let's say.
Mm.
And that a mom walks in as a child, has spilled something on the floor, and she goes, "What did you do?" "I just wiped up the floor." And then another mom would walk in and go, "What did you do?" "Oh, I mopped the floor, but now this is nice." "Look, it's a little elephant you painted with juice. So cute." So it's tone, it's
Mhm.
intention, it's motivation. So do you really think that all Reiki masters do exactly the same thing? No. Do you think that No.
Yeah.
It is who the person is, if they resonate with you. Not every dentist is the same. Not every doctor is the same. If so, I would never have gone to another doctor in my entire life, right? Not only for my
Exactly.
first husband, but medical malpractice right after that. Are you kidding? They played golf instead of helping deliver my baby.
Hmm.
Navy hospital. They walked out for 10 hours and forgot. Two
Oh,
of us. One died, I lived. So
wow.
I'm looking and saying, folks, you're looking for the person, not the technique, whether you know it or not.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. That is so important. I love that. You're looking for the technique, not the person. No, sorry,
Right?
scratch that. Reverse it. You're looking for the
Well,
person, not
that's
the
what I'm
technique.
saying. That's the issue. They're
Yeah.
looking for the technique, not the person.
Yeah.
They need both.
Yeah.
If they prefer hands-on or not hands-on, long distance, not long distance. If they prefer mediumship, because somebody is on the other side, whatever, you're still looking for the person that you resonate with,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah. Absolutely. Um, what is what's the favorite part maybe about what the work that you're doing right now? What do you like the best?
Teach,
Mm.
teach. Absolutely. I want everybody to grow their powers. I want them to understand how sacred it is, because then they won't step out of it inappropriately. They'll always have gratitude. They'll always look to center themselves before they do any of the work, whatever the work is. If you're an artist, you want to come from your heart, your soul, your mind. You want clarity. You want to produce the best work you can on this earth while you're here. Doesn't matter what it is. Ditch sticking.
Mm.
I cleaned motels when I traveled around the country when I was 22, 21, something like that. I took off from nursing and I got in my car and with a boyfriend, and I went traveling around the country, and I did everything I felt like doing to see how other people work, how other people think. But I understood that some people just work because they have to.
Mm.
And for me, that's always been very sad.
Yeah.
I work because I can. That's a gift,
Yes, it
whatever the
is.
work is.
Yeah.
So teaching for me means opening their own doors to go inside and love what they find and stop being afraid of the unknown and stop thinking that there's a difference between earned guilt and unearned guilt.
Mm.
So if you deserve the guilt because you were violating the space of others in any way possible that you wanted to without consideration, then we call you sociopaths and psychopaths and all the rest of the names I can apply to you, narcissists and all that. But if you're not, then give it up. It's unearned guilt. And then go ahead and discover how great you are inside. Your soul is beautiful. All you have to do is step by step. And for me, I am a confirmed writer in order to get proof. So it's one thing to say, oh, I'm so intuitive. Oh, yeah? Uh-huh. How do you know? Oh, well, I am. It doesn't matter what I think of the other person. It matters that you actually know when you're there and when you're not. When it's your fantasy, when it's your imagination, when it's real. And that's why I still write everything down that I get. That's how I could write my books.
That's smart.
Well, I was curious, like,
Yeah.
how do you know that? I mean, we've got a case that is probably the most confusing in one aspect than ever I have worked on.
Hmm.
Want to hear?
Yeah. Yes, I'm curious.
Okay. The simple piece to that is the first person that was entered into the missing persons bureau was called Princess Doe. She was in Western New Jersey, found unidentified for 40 years. When I worked on it with Captain Heater from that area, I named a man. Doesn't matter how, it's in the book. The details are all there. And so are the documentaries. But I named him and said he wore a Western belt buckle, a scar on his right cheek. His first name is John, last name is beginning with an R, single syllable. And that was it. And I said, there's another man somewhere around there. 5 years later, I worked on another murder in the same county with Heater again. And I point out the killer. I point out how he did it. I point out everything. I go to the room. It's a fresh crime scene. I tell how he did it, what he did it with, etc. And I said, he's right upstairs and his name is John, beginning with an R. He wears a Western belt buckle meanwhile, I had worked hundreds of cases in between. And he's looking at me. He said, do you remember ever speaking about him? I said, no, but he's a serial killer anyhow, so probably. And he said, yeah, that was Princess Doe case. Oh, right. Huh. So he said, yeah, but we polygraphed him. I said, you're wrong. Go back. He said, no, he doesn't have that. I said, David, you're blind. Go back. And so he did. And he went, whoops. And he and the state police who was involved, they sat down and videotaped John, who fully confessed. And he just died in prison last October, I think it was, or something, or June. I can't remember. But what happened though, because I just spoke to retired Captain Heater about John Reese, I said, he was never questioned because this past June, I think it is, the 40-year-old unidentified body was identified, and a man who is in prison for 7 murders in New York confessed to killing Princess Doe.
Wow.
So how did I know about John Reese with Princess Doe, and how do we prove it? We can't yet. We may never. We don't know, but we're looking into it. I have another friend who is somebody who can pick up the phone and talk to prosecutors. So he does that. And because he just said, yeah, John Reese would never talk about anything else. but I was able to tell where she had been, what had happened, how she died, everything about her. And it was the same method that John Reese killed the other one.
Mm.
So puzzle,
Hmm.
right? It's a puzzle. I may never know, but what I did was make a report on every odd part of the circumstance. I went through every detail, both mine and what others said. I went back to everything known, all the records, because other prosecutors, when he retired, would call me in and we'd go over things again. So I had a good history of knowing lots of details. And there was a witness who saw Princess Doe shopping 2 days before they found her body. And then I get an email from a woman, unaged, no name now, keep it private. And she said that she was John Reese's, she called him Uncle John. He was the stepfather to her mother who he attempted to murder. And he had Princess Doe upstairs in their home, tied up the same way he tied up the other one.
Oh my
So
goodness. Wow.
how do you know? But you don't know,
Yeah.
right? And I know for me, the resolution is much more important for the souls
Mm.
and for the remaining living people of that poor girl to know
Right.
anything. But more than that, I do believe that the victims always need to find their own peace more than anything.
Mm.
And if they have any need for resolution, then, that's why it's a puzzle for me. I want to know what she went through because I feel like I can work with her, love her, and get her to move forward easily once I can understand what she needs. And I'm
Mm.
not quite sure about that. I've been talking to her for 40 years.
Wow.
Yeah,
That is goodness.
no, but she's just, look, people on the other side, animals on the other side, they don't go through what we go through. They don't need to.
Mm.
But trauma is still something that they grow from and yet need love,
Mm.
depending on what happened, right?
Mm.
So particularly the ones who are crime victims, I feel they need a counterbalance to that.
Yeah. I'm just thinking that's such, it seems hard to be able to, I mean, and I'm thinking just, for you to be able to know that, you're working with this case for so long and
Mhm.
just, and still, um, I, how, how do you kind of keep going with something like that? I guess it is because you're trying to help, but it seems like it might be challenging sometimes.
Well, it's not on my mind every single day for 40
No.
years, right?
Yeah.
And there are others I am currently working on. Some are very cold, some are very fresh. And I explained to some people, that's my sidebar. It's not my regular work. I teach several times a week. I give readings almost daily.
Mm.
I have family. I have 12 grandchildren, kids who call me every single day. I'm mentoring some of my grandkids now.
Oh, lovely.
Christmas, one of them wanted last year, a soul reading, past life reading. The other one wanted just a past life reading, please. Thank you. And, and a lot of my family, um, I can say, had the benefit of, oh my God, I can't find my taxes. Where are they? I say, upstairs in the room, bedroom, blue room, go through every single thing that's on the bed right now because you were packing, right? Yes. Okay, lift up every single thing. It's right there. And it was. So, right. I always know the calls are either going to put me to work
Yeah.
or just have a nice chat. But most of the time, it's wanting to bounce things back and forth.
Mm.
Like my daughter, she's super wise and intuitive and just keeps bouncing things back and forth. And my son, yeah, I raised two, I have five precious ones. And my son, I will ask anything of. He's the best teacher I've ever met.
Mm.
Right. So I think that I have plenty to fill my plate on love
Mm-hmm. Yes.
and goodness. And um, I've been a crime victim more than once by others. And so I know, what can you do with it? You can get a tough skin, but not a hard skin, different.
Mm-hmm.
I can get a higher frequency and go, I can write a book and put their names in it because it happened to me. And stop me. I just am. So I have my own kind of dark humor about telling the truth.
Mm.
You did it. I'm going to call you on it. I have no problem doing that. I like it. I like me that way. That's what I learned.
Mm.
Just somebody once called me a witch fairy. I said, I'll take it.
I love it. Well, what strikes me about you is that you're so secure in who you are and what you do, and it is all about love. And I definitely get that from you. And I think you're an excellent role model for people who are,
Oh, thank you.
who may be frazzled at times and who are not sure about, what their gifts are. And I can see that working with you would be very helpful for them. So,
Thank you.
yeah.
Some of the people who know me quite a while and have worked with me for a long time know that in the middle of something, my husband, the clown, can walk in and I go to your room. And he looks, and then he's a pun. He likes to pun and throw quick wit around and be a pun. And I know I can just look at him and go, you've got 2 minutes. So I think in one way we get along. He is literally the wings beneath my feet, for sure. He sets up my preamp, he fixes everything. He builds anything. He does anything. He's a patent designer many, many years. And so he's my all anyhow. And he's a great pop-ups to my kids. Like they never had a father who ever cared. I had 2 other husbands, each one I gifted with a child, and each one of them were lousy fathers. One's still living, the other isn't, and they can, one calls my son once a year. My son's an amazing human being. He teaches math to kids who are indigent. He's such a good soul, right? And then I look at all that and go, you're fools. So when you're frazzled, though, you can't be clear about it's okay to point out that's not fair, right? If you take it all as personal. So when I take it personally, it's like there are days you said about spilling in the bathroom, this morning and stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, so I go in the room, I make a shake every morning, or my husband makes it for me, one or the other, and I have spilled it all over the place at times, right? And it's everywhere. And I go to clean it. He says, oh, I'll clean it. I go, oh, goody. And I walk out. And then he goes, I'll make them from now on. I go, no, you're not. You're not my boss. So if I was frazzled, it means I take it I would be rejecting me, right? As, right, I don't deserve to do this. I'm not a 4-year-old. I've made mistakes. I made lots of them. I guarantee to every child ever that we adults, we make more mistakes as we grow older, not because we're old at all. It's because we do more.
Yeah, that's true. Exactly.
Do a lot more. I work sometimes 14-hour days. I do a lot more now other than go out and date and stay out late, but I don't do that anymore. I work a lot, right? So that's the difference. I look at it and go, get used to making mistakes.
Yeah. All right. Well, we could talk forever, I think. And but I'm going to have to bring this to a close, but it's been wonderful so far. I really enjoyed our conversation, and I know for people out there who also have been benefiting from this, they would love to be able to get in touch with you. How best can they do that, and maybe get your books or possibly work with you?
Thank you. So on Amazon, The Life of a Psychic Detective and All Nature Speaks, Conversations with Pets and Wildlife. And those are the two books. My name is there, Nancy Orlen, Orlen Weber. And if you go to YouTube, there are plenty of documentaries there. If you go to my website, it's my name. And there's a contact form for sessions, etc. And that's it. I am very visible.
Well, that's good. Well, I'm glad you are. And I'm glad that we have connected. And and so I will have all of that information in the show notes for everyone who is listening or watching. So you can go to liveloveengagepodcast.com and you'll be able to find that information. Just search for Nancy's name and you'll be able to get that if you're somewhere where you're not able to write that information down right now. So thank you again for spending some time with us today. And I wish you all the best and all of the varied things that you are up to in the world, which is quite a lot.
Gloria, so are you.
Appreciate that.
I call it soul kin. Right? So thank you. It is absolutely wonderful to talk with you. You're lovely. You are so lovely.
Well, thank you. And I also want to thank all of you out there for listening and for watching. And I hope if you're not subscribed to the YouTube channel, make sure you do that. You can find it at Gloria Grace Rand, and then you'll be able to see all the other wonderful podcast episodes that I have on there, as well as some other. I've got marketing videos on there. I've got light language videos on there. Also, all sorts of different things. I've had that channel for a very long time, and you'll see how I've changed and over the years too, which is quite amusing.
I'm wonderful.
Well, until next time, as always, I like to encourage all of you to go out today and every day and live fully, love deeply, and engage authentically.